We always start by looking back, Greg, and especially when it's a victory, it's a good moment to reflect on what happened on Sunday. 2-0 win against Pontypridd. Happy with that?
Very happy. Obviously, cup game, quarter final. You know, at the end of the day, you go into that game wanting just to get through to the semi-final. Doesn't matter how the result comes. Like I said after the game, we weren't anywhere near as good as what we were the week before when we beat them 4-0 away. But I also said, you know, it's going to be very difficult to play that well week in, week out. The girls, you know, certainly outperformed Ponty on that day. Ponty definitely had a point to prove. I think, you know, they came here looking for revenge, because that's not nice to be on the receiving end of. So they were definitely sort of miles better than what they were the week before. But you know, it was just really pleasing that, you know, we restricted them to very little chances, and you know, scored a couple of good goals ourselves. And I think majority of the second half we did control. I think Sarah made one save at a near post. So she was obviously on the spot when she was called upon, but in general, yeah, we really controlled the second half, and as soon as that second goal went in, it was you know, it was game over really. So yeah, nice to be through to the semi-final, but obviously all our attention now turns to tomorrow night.
But as you say, they're into the last four. Before we do come to tomorrow's game, how important is the cup in terms of priority when you pitch it against the league, or are you able to take each game as it comes and each one has the same relevance and importance?
Yeah, I think each game, whether it's a cup game or it's a league game, we always sort of treat it the same really. It doesn't matter whether we're playing Abergavenny tomorrow or, you know, Cardiff City, like we will be in the semi-final in the next round. We give each team the same amount of respect. We know that on our day we're capable of beating anyone. Certainly the way we have sort of started playing the last couple of games. You know, if we can play like we did last week, then we'll be a match for anyone. So you know, we know that, and I think other teams are starting to realise that as well. Yeah, now we're just in a really good space at the moment. In terms of priority, obviously the cups are really nice. They're a break from the league. They're something different, something fresh. So you know, it was our aim to get to a final at the start of this season. Obviously, we're one game away from that. Obviously, a tricky game against Cardiff City, which is, you know, like I said, going to be very tricky. But you know, it's something that we're looking forward to. So yeah, it'll be nice to get into a final, go one better than last year, semi-final last year. So you know, fingers crossed we can make a final. But you know, the cup game's a few weeks away yet. So obviously, our priority now is making sure that we finish in that top four, and that's all we're concentrating on now.
And the game against Abergavenny tomorrow was originally last week, but it was cancelled. Was that a disappointment to you, Greg?
Yeah, it was just frustrating, the whole, you know, the way it all came about really, you know, not knowing until the day before. I know we were trying to rearrange it for later on in the month, when both teams had a little bit more time to sort of prepare for it really. Yeah, just frustrating really, but you know, we've done our preparation. We're on a good run. We're positive. You know, we've got pretty much everyone available. It was looking likely, like last week, that, you know, certain players weren't going to be available, but you know, we've managed to rearrange things. So you know, we're going to be still sort of near enough full strength. So that's, you know, that's a positive. So yeah, just looking forward to it now. The girls have had a good rest. We're not going to train this week. You know, they put in a good shift again on Sunday, so there's no need to train. We'll just be making sure that we're as fresh as possible for the game tomorrow, and looking forward to, you know, putting on another good performance and you know, hopefully picking up another 3 points.
And you mentioned preparations there. Will you be going with exactly what you planned last week this time round, or perhaps did things that you saw on Sunday maybe affect things slightly?
Yeah, no, there's definitely some wiggle room there. The starting 11's definitely not in my mind yet. I am in contact with a couple of players. We picked up a couple of knocks, but they've I spoke to them yesterday and they're feeling a lot better than what they were expecting to. So another 24 hours, 48 hours till the game. I'm hopeful that everyone will be sort of injury niggle free. Certainly no injuries, but a couple of little niggles that, you know, may have an impact on the starting lineup. But the way it's looking, I think everyone will be sort of fit and ready to go. So yeah, I mean, if everyone is fit and ready to go, then you know, I'm not 100% sure on the starting lineup yet. So it's a nice position to be in.
And as far as the table's concerned, it's certainly a very winnable game for the New Saints. Do you particularly guard against complacency in that situation, or, as we asked last week, do the girls themselves understand what's going on and they'll go out with the professional attitude that you want to instill within them?
Yeah, I think, like I said, they're definitely developing that side of the game where, certain things now they don't have to be told, whereas 12 months ago it was complacency was definitely something that crept in. But we've been on the wrong end of some results and against some smaller teams as well. Teams down the bottom end. Barry at the start of the season where we lost after being 1-0 up. So complacency is something that the girls have learnt to deal with really. So obviously don't get me wrong, I'll definitely be reminding them before the game. But I think they're sort of well on the way to knowing how to approach games now, which is really pleasing. Yeah.
And since you took the hot seat as far as managing the women's team is concerned, it's been a few months now, Greg. How much of a learning curve has it been for you personally?
Yeah, massive learning curve. It's completely different to working with the men's team, completely different to working with the 19s or the academy. It's definitely been an eye opener. It's been challenging, but it's been great fun. It's like I say, it's majority of it the last couple of months. I've been doing it on my own sort of thing, obviously with great help from James and Nicola and obviously Michael, Sam and yourselves, sort of in the background. But it's been a challenge, but I am loving it. And the girls, well, as far as results go anyway, the results are certainly looking good. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing. We'll keep working hard and we'll keep moving in the right direction, hopefully.
And it's your first step into management at this level. What sort of manager are you, Greg, when you reflect on the game and you go back home and you think about it? Are you able to deal with it easily, or do sometimes things play on your mind a little?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, you go home sometimes and you just can't sleep at night because you think of different things. We go back to the Abergavenny game where we're 3-0 up, just after half time, and we somehow ended up throwing it away and drawing 3-3. I definitely didn't sleep that night, thinking about what I should have done, what I could have done. It was the same when I was a player. I'd finish a game and I wouldn't get to sleep till sort of 3-4 o'clock, obviously because of the adrenaline, but obviously overthinking things. So it's it's no different to being a manager really. You overthink everything and beat yourself up at times, but that's the way it is. Obviously it's something that I'll learn to deal with, it's all part of it, I guess, and just enjoying every minute really.
And if Abergavenny would be considered a very winnable game, then certainly Swansea City this coming Sunday is at the opposite end of the spectrum. That's going to be a real challenge. Yeah,
no, it's obviously going to be the toughest game that we've had for quite a while. We lost them 3-1 at home, I think, at the start of the season. Might have even been 3-0. And they were by far the better team on the day, but I think we've improved an awful lot since that game. Didn't really give a good account of ourselves that day. I think possibly we're a little bit overawed by them. But like I say, some of the performances we put in recently, none more so than the performance we put in against Cardiff Met, one of the other top 3 teams at home, just before end of November, I think it was. On another day we easily could have come away with 3 points. So the confidence the girls have got now. We'll be going into Swansea on Sunday. We'll be going for 3 points. We're not going to go there and like 12 months ago it would have been, let's try and keep the score down. Whereas now, we're going for 3 points. We're confident and looking forward to the challenge at the end of the day. If we don't get anything on Sunday, it's not a massive loss. This game on Wednesday is the priority. If they're the team that we want to beat, and we want to keep as much distance between ourselves and Abergavenny as possible. On Sunday we'll be doing absolutely everything we can to come away with 3 points as well.
And naturally you are focused on the Abergavenny game at the moment. At what point will you switch off from that and then begin to focus totally on Swansea City?
Probably when the final whistle goes tomorrow night, to be fair. Straight away we'll look at injuries and niggles, see who came out of the game, with any knocks or anything like that. And then obviously, like I say, I'll probably be beating myself up tomorrow night. Could I have done this? Could I have done that? We'll look at that, and then Thursday morning when I wake up, that's it. It'll be sort of switched on and focusing on Sunday's game. So nice to have a midweek game on a Wednesday, and then got a few days then to prepare for Sunday.
And barring injuries and other unforeseen circumstances, would you be looking to maybe change the team slightly on Sunday in terms of some of the players having featured on Wednesday?
I think if we are likely to make changes, it'll be tomorrow night. Like I said, we're having a tough game on Sunday. There's, there might be some legs there that we'd look to just get a rest into, possibly some sort of more attacking players who have been doing really well the last sort of few weeks. We might just look to get a little bit of rest into them, obviously looking ahead to Sunday really, and knowing how tough that will be on a heavy pitch. Obviously they play on the grass, so it will be a heavy pitch, so if we are going to rest anyone, it will be tomorrow. But like I say, no matter what team I put out, I'll be very confident we can get 3 points.
And you have stated your desire to make the top 4, and of course if you do, teams like Swansea City, Cardiff Met, Cardiff City, they're going to be the opponent week after week in the second phase. That certainly gives you a challenge, but also it's something to aspire to as well, isn't it, Greg?
Definitely, that's where we want to be. We don't want to be top 4. In years to come, we want to be top of the table. So, you're not going to go from the bottom 4 to top of the table in the space of a season. So it's a case of climbing the ladder slowly. Top 4 was the goal. We're on the brink of it. 3 points tomorrow put us in a strong position. The Ponty themselves play Swansea, so fingers crossed we're 3 points ahead of them with 2 games to go, and then obviously we've got 2 massive games to finish. But at the end of the day, I'd rather be finishing in that top 4 and playing the top teams week in and week out for the remainder of the season, and really challenging, because that's the only way that we're going to push, and the only way that we're going to sort of develop is by playing the best. So that's what we want to do.
And I know we've mentioned it pretty much every week. This time last year, the club was fighting a relegation battle, now at the opposite end of the table. How do you continue to keep taking the club forward?
Just making sure that the girls work hard day in, day out, really. And they do. I mean, I must say, since Christmas, the work rate alone in training has just gone through the roof. And it's certainly showed in the last 2 games, the fitness levels. The last 20 minutes, half an hour, both games, Ponty have struggled to get out of their half. So, that's definitely helped us sort of get those 2 results, the fitness levels, and obviously the hard work that the girls have put in, the commitment that they've shown week in, week out. So that's the key to it for me, and it's something that I always say, that we, the minimum is, you're not always going to have your best game, but the minimum is that you work to your 100% of your max, and as long as you do that, then you can forgive silly little mistakes or not such a good performance. But something that you can't forgive is giving 100% every time you go out onto the pitch.